Today is December 15th, 2025, and this is the Exchange Daily. Your briefing for leaders who want signal, not noise, on AI, cyber, and modernization. Today we're tracking a funding milestone in enterprise voice agents, a platform release that makes real-time native audio AI easier to ship, and a set of government and vendor updates that should sharpen your patch and compliance priorities. We'll also touch an independent NIST evaluation that's useful for model governance, and a new FCC notice that will matter for communications risk planning. If you're building your 2026 operating model, these stories are about moving from experimentation to disciplined execution. Let's get into it. It's Monday, so here's the AI Market Maker Spotlight, and today it's Poly AI. Poly AI announced an $86 million Series D to expand its enterprise conversational AI platform with customer-facing voice agents at the center of the strategy. For leaders, the point isn't the hype, it's the maturity signal. Buyers are demanding systems that can handle real call volume, survive edge cases, and hand off to humans cleanly when confidence drops. If you're evaluating voice agents, require a scorecard that covers latency, containment, escalation behavior, and Q&A sampling, not just demo performance. Also insist on contract language that clarifies data handling, retention, and how the vendor supports incident response for customer-facing conversations. Next, Google Cloud says Gemini Live API is generally available on Vertex AI, powered by a native audio model designed for low-latency, high-concurrency interactions. This matters because many voice systems still rely on stitch pipelines, like speech-to-text, then a model call, then text-to-speech, and those handoffs add delay and brittle failure modes. A native audio path can simplify architecture and improve responsiveness, but it also raises the bar for governance because the model is now part of the real-time interaction loop. If you're building with real-time audio, define safety tests for interruption, barge in, and sensitive intents, and make sure you can log and review outcomes without violating privacy constraints. Treat this like a production platform decision, not an app feature, because voice will quickly become a brand and risk surface. Now to NIST, where the Center for AI Standards and Innovation published an evaluation of Moonshot AI's Kimi K2 thinking model. NIST evaluated capabilities across cyber, software engineering, scientific knowledge, and mathematical reasoning, and the results are framed to help decision-makers compare models with more discipline. The executive takeaway is that independent evaluations are becoming part of AI governance because they give you an external reference point when teams want to adopt a model for cost, sovereignty, or customization. If you're running an AI steering committee, use evaluations like this to standardize what acceptable performance means for your use cases and to set red team priorities before production access expands. And if your teams are experimenting with open-weight models, require a documented risk review that covers security testing, licensing, and operational controls. Turning to federal policy signals, the FCC published a Federal Register notice titled "Protecting the Nation's Communications Systems from Cybersecurity Threats." Even if you're not a telecom operator, communications infrastructure is a dependency you rarely get to replace quickly. So policy changes and security expectations can show up downstream through procurement and vendor management. For CIOs and CISOs, the practical move is to map your most critical carrier dependencies and confirm you have clear escalation paths for outages, suspected compromise, and coordinated response. This is also a good moment to review whether you have single points of failure in connectivity for call centers, remote work, or critical sites. If you want a simple action, ask your team for a one-page communications risk posture brief that covers providers, failover, and incident coordination. On the audit and governance front, the Government Accountability Office published GAO 26-107-980 on an independent cybersecurity assessment and the Department of Veterans Affairs response. The lesson for leaders is that a remediation plan isn't the same thing as remediation outcomes, especially across legacy systems with staffing and funding constraints. The GAO's framing reinforces what auditors look for: ownership, tracking, discipline, and timelines that match the severity of the findings, with evidence that exceptions are managed, not ignored. If your remediation program feels stuck, focus on high-risk findings first, tighten accountable ownership, and make closure dates visible at the leadership level. And when a fix can't land fast, document compensating controls and the decision rationale so you can defend risk acceptance credibly. Now for patch pressure, CISA added OSGeo Geo Server CV 2025-58360 to the known exploited vulnerabilities catalog based on evidence of active exploitation. When something hits KEV, the question becomes how quickly you can get it out of your exposure window, and that's true for enterprises even if the binding directive targets federal agencies. GeoServer shows up in mapping, geospatial portals, and data sharing workflows that can be internet adjacent, which makes it a high-leverage target if exposed. The immediate actions are straightforward: confirm asset inventory, patch or upgrade quickly, and reduce external exposure while you work the change window. If patching will slip, require a written exception with compensating controls and a clear due date, because KEV items are where after-action reviews tend to start. Finally, Atlassian published its December 2025 Security Bulletin, rolling up high-severity issues and multiple critical third-party vulnerabilities fixed in recent releases. Atlassian products often sit at the center of engineering and operational workflows, which makes them attractive as a pivot point if they're underpatched or exposed. This is also a dependency hygiene story, because third-party components can introduce critical weaknesses that only become visible when a bulletin forces them into the open. The action here is to verify your versions, prioritize upgrades for externally reachable instances, and schedule testing and change windows that match the business importance of these platforms. Treat collaboration and workflow tools as high-value infrastructure, because that's how adversaries treat them. That's your Exchange Daily for today. If there's one theme, it's that AI is moving into real-time customer interaction, while regulators and auditors are pushing for clearer evidence of security discipline and remediation outcomes. Keep voice agent programs tied to measurable quality and safe escalation, keep model selection tied to governance inputs, and keep patch queues anchored to exploitation signals like KEV, not just severity scores. Subscribe to the Exchange Weekly for a deeper Monday-style dive when you want the longer strategic context behind one big story. Thanks for listening to today's Exchange Daily. We'll talk tomorrow.